Back in 2004, a group of modders passionate about creating a more realistic and immersive experience began working on a project that would soon become as known as Project Reality. Originally a mod for Battlefield 2, which was released in 2005, Project Reality aimed to transform the fast-paced, arcadic style of gameplay of Battlefield 2 something into a far more tactical and team-oriented. In August 2005, the first version of Project Reality, or PR, was released. This early version was all about realism. Weapon damage was increased, crosshairs were removed, players had to rely on their skills and teamwork to win, but that was just the beginning. As the years went by, PR rapidly evolved. The development team grew, bringing more modders from the community, and with each update, the game became more complex and immersive. Major updates introduced new factions, like the British Army and the Canadian Armed Forces. One of the most important updates came in 2007 with version 0.5. This version introduced a new mode called Insurgency, where one team had to defend weapon caches while the other team tried to destroy them. He also added new vehicles, including tanks, APCs, helicopters, and jets, which further expanded the tactical options to players. Project Reality had become one of the most popular mods for Battlefield 2, attracting a dedicated player base that valued its tactical depth and realism. The PR community was thriving, with the dedicated servers and clans. As the mod continued to grow, with the aging Battlefield 2 engine started to become a bit of a limitation. Despite this, the PR team pressed on, even releasing a version of PR for Arma 2 in 2011. But the big change came in December 2015 when the Project Reality was released as a standalone game, no longer acquiring the Battlefield 2 to play. Releasing the standalone version allowed developers to push the limits of what they could achieve with the BF2 engine, including more refined gameplay mechanics, new factions, and additional maps. This laid groundwork for future tactical shooters. Some of the original PR developers went to go form Offworld Industries in 2014. They began to go work on Squad, the successor to Project Reality. Squad took everything that made Project Reality great: the realism, the teamwork, the large-scale battles, and brought everything to a modern era with the power of the Unreal Engine 4, but still doesn't have a lot of features that they promised back in 2015. These include thermal imaging for UAVs, APCs, and tanks, AA kits such as the Stinger, dedicated anti-air vehicles, fighter jets, attack helicopters like the Apache and Hind, and also flares for all aircraft. Last year, the developers at Squad brought in the Infantry Combat Overhaul, a major update that revamped several key mechanics. This overhaul included changes to the suppression mechanics, stamina, weapon stabilization, picture-in-picture optics, point shooting, and dead zone mechanics. These changes aim to bring Squad even closer to the gameplay experience of Project Reality. 2 months ago, Squad had to release their major update, Iron Thunder, which brought a lot of vehicles to the game. One of their biggest changes was an overhaul to the anti-tank guided missile. This was added because the ATGM system was overpowered before the update. Previously, using a ATGM was simple as point and click, making it too easy in some cases, even turning the thing into an anti-aircraft weapon. This update aimed to add more challenging realism to the system, ensuring it deserves its intended purpose without dominating on the battlefield. In the Iron Update notes, OWI said, "As our main goal is to move these weapons away from being effective anti-air weapons to open the door for more dedicated anti-air weapons in the future." If anti-air weapons are on the horizon, I would not be surprised if helicopters or jets make their way into the game as well. 2 years ago, the developers at Squad accidentally released the first cast helicopter to the game, the UH-1Y. This helicopter was outfitted with 2 Hydra rocket pods, a 50 cal machine gun, a Gauss 17 Gatling gun. They were mounted on both sides of the helicopter, making it a beast on the battlefield. However, some players were concerned about the potential issues, especially with the lack of anti-aircraft weapons to counter with the new helicopter. Others worried about the introduction of air vehicles might shift the focus away from infantry-centered gameplay that Squad is known for. A few months back, I made a post on the Squad Reddit subchannel, and I said, should OWI add jets and helicopters to Squad? And it was kind of mixed. Many players agreed that attack helicopters would be a great addition to Squad, but jets not so much. A common concern that Squad maps are just way too small. In Project Reality, jets often operate outside of the main map. With maps in Project Reality, there would be an extended area 2 to 3 kilometers outside of the main map, with airfields located several kilometers away. Others mention that the game is just not optimized well enough for these conditions to add jets to the game, which I completely agree with. Some players were just completely against the idea, but if helicopters were added, there would be a proper anti-air weapons just like tanks with proper AT kits. In early 2024, Squad had a Q&A answering questions from the community. One of the questions was, when will thermal sights and laser rangefinders will be added to MPTs and IFEs? This is what they said. Thermal optics are something that we would like to add in the future. However, we can't commit to timelines due to limitations with resources and technology. We wished for a thermal system not to only look and feel authentic, but work realistically, rather than to be a post-processed effect. Laser rangefinders are already present in some IFEs and all tanks. The discussions about adding thermal optics has been going on since the early days of Squad. Currently, some mods, such as the Steel Division mod, feature some thermal sights. In my opinion, while these thermal sights look decent, I've seen comments on videos about Steel Division, while the players have criticized the thermal sights for making the game feel like a point-and-click experience. Project Reality does a great job of showing how to add thermals to a game. Thermals don't only make it look cool, but also add depth to vehicle gameplay. They give vehicles better targeting and by providing thermal imaging, but they don't make things unfair. This balances by only allowing certain vehicles to have thermals, narrowing the field of view down, using environmental factors like fog or rain that can affect how well thermals work. Also adding anti-tank weapons, air support. This way thermals are not overpowerful tool, but also do not overpower the game. Squad and Project Reality both have laser rangefinders in their IFVs and tanks, but they work a little bit differently. In Project Reality, rangefinders are more realistic. You aim at the target, you lace it, and then you fire. In Squad, the laser rangefinder is a bit more simpler. Wherever you point your sight, it shows you the distance directly, usually at the bottom of your sight. Then you'll need to adjust your aim using the scope. Hopefully we get something like what Project Reality has in the future with its laser rangefinders. I'm a pretty big armor guy in Squad. This would make life so much easier. Squad is in a very good state at the moment right now. We got 2 overhauls with the infantry combat overhaul and the guided missile overhaul. We are getting a PMC faction very soon, and I would not be surprised if something very big is on the horizon.
What's this?
TGO. There it is.
Oh, wait, what? Okay, so there's one leak.
Little bird that variants are the same. Looks like variants.
With the hydro rocket pods.
But I want to know, what is your thoughts? Should Squad add helicopters or jets? What about thermals to APCs, IFVs, and tanks? And what else should they add? If you enjoyed this deep dive, hit that subscribe button. It means a lot to me. And thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.